Hey guys, PepperAmmy here. This week we are making a nice simple seasonal salt using a great plant you can forage for absolutely free at this time of the year, and that is wild garlic. Now, as a disclaimer, I am no expert on plants, and all the information on plants mentioned in this video I have found online via pictures and written articles. Forage this plant at your own risk. If you are unsure of the plant, don't take the risk and leave it alone for your own safety. Now, as a warning, you do have to be careful whilst foraging wild garlic, as there are similar looking plants that are poisonous. Luckily, there are a few easy ways to notice the differences between these plants, and compared to wild garlic, number one is the flowers are totally different. Now, lily of the valley is the main suspect you want to be keeping an eye out for, and it is the most common to confuse with wild garlic, judging by the shape of the leaves. Now, the flowers on lily of the valley are shaped like bells and hang down from the stalk, whereas wild garlic flowers are more star-shaped and bunched at the end of a stem. Now, if the plants are not yet in bloom, you may be able to identify the plant by the flower pod. Now, on wild garlic, the leaves mostly sprout from the bottom of the stem, whereas from lily of the valley, the leaves can form higher up on the stem, more in a zigzag pattern rather than like a bunching pattern closer to the ground. And then finally, there is a ultra easy way to identify wild garlic, and that is of course the smell of garlic. Now, this is a really strong and distinct smell of garlic from these plants, whereas lily of the valley won't smell like garlic and the flowers have a more sweet smell. Now, this plant can be found in abundance in the springtime in woods and forests, and it dies back during the summer. Now, for foraging this plant and mainly digging up the plant, it can be protected by law, especially in the UK. Plants are protected under the Wildlife and Countryside Act of 1981, which makes it illegal to dig up or remove this plant from the wild. Now, you always want to check with your local laws of your area before removing any plants, but with wild garlic you are mostly just after harvesting a couple of leaves anyway, and then you can just take those home with you. Now, once you are certain you have found wild garlic, forage however much you like. I picked around 200 grams from different areas as to not impact the ecosystem.
It's actually a very delicate ecosystem,
as everything around here is basically dependent on plants and various things at this time of year. You also want to avoid picking wild garlic from roadsides and high traffic areas, as pollution can also harm the plants. And now on to the recipe. Forage how much wild garlic you wish, and then depending on how much salt you want to make, I was planning on making a 1:1 ratio, but I ended up using a 3:1 ratio of salt to garlic. Now, you can go as low as 10:1 ratio to the salt and garlic, but I wouldn't go any lower than that. Now, I picked around 200 grams of wild garlic. Once you take it home, place it in a glass or a bowl of water if you're not planning on using it immediately. This keeps it nice and fresh and stops it from wilting. And then you want to also wash off any dirt, grime, bugs, etc., and then discard any leaves that look like they've been slightly nibbled on or may have some snail or slug trails on. Now, once you're ready to make your salt, you can either dehydrate the leaves and crumble them into some salt, or you can use as they are nice and fresh and then place them in a food processor and blend the wild garlic into a paste. Now, you don't want to overblend this and basically make a soup, and then you just want to combine this with your salt. Now, I prefer blending rather than dehydrating. This way you can fully coat the salt rather than just mixing two dry ingredients and hoping for the best. And as you dry out your garlic salt, it will fully coat the salt and you will end up with a nice even covering. Now, once you have blended your garlic paste, add it to a bowl and add in your preferred salt. Now, personally, I am using some pink Himalayan salt crystals, but you can use any salt you wish. Flaky sea salt will also work great for this as well. You could even just use fine table salt if you wish as well. but you will probably have to break it up a lot more. Then you just want to give this a good mix and a good stir together to coat the salt. Now once fully coated to your liking, spread it on either a lined baking tray or a dehydrator sheet. Now conveniently, my dehydrator came with a herb drying mat, which is absolutely perfect for salt as it's got a nice little brim around the edge. Then you either want to bake this or dehydrate this at around 50 degrees Celsius for a few hours, depending on your salt to paste ratio. The wetter is going to take much longer, and of course drier will take less time. You may also have to break up your salt mix and remix it every hour or so, as the top layer will just basically, well, dry out and the wet salt will still be trapped below. Now once your salt has fully dried, you can store it in a salt mill. Any excess you can store in a bag or an airtight container for later use. And there you have it, wild garlic salt that goes great on eggs in the morning and to any situation or any meal that needs a little bit of garlic and a little bit of salt. And that wraps up this week's video. If you have enjoyed, let me know down below with a like and comment. If you are new here, feel free to subscribe for free weekly cooking content. There will be some more stuff about wild garlic later on in the year. And I hope to see you all again next week. Thanks for watching.